force that they can.
So one of the key things that I think is going to really, really help B2B businesses is to have access to data and have transparency throughout the process, which is where I also think staffing agencies lack to provide that. Like you just said, sometimes they hide the day rates, they falter the day rates, or salary information in your case when you mentioned. But it is not an uncommon practice to basically charge 15% to one client and 20% to the other because they haven't negotiated it or haven't had the time to negotiate and they've trusted their expertise. So I think businesses that are able to, push forward transparency within their organization and bring in a slight cultural shift where basically what they're saying is, we are wanting to take responsibility of this talent, because currently it's a quarter of our working population, which is still quite large. For an organization that is 1,000 people, it's 250 contractors, as an example. So it's quite a large population. So having that keenness and that requirement to actually start looking at the reports, start looking at the data. And so some of the things we do is we have tons and tons of reports from the number of contractors currently working with you to your past contractors, which could be about 10,000, although you've only got 200 working right now, and how we sort of help you build that talent cloud. Things like how quickly did you rehire somebody through the platform? Because currently, if you want to hire someone, regardless of whether you know that person or not, because you're not in touch with that person, and this is particularly true with hiring managers, they're like, oh, I worked with somebody 2 years ago. They'd be brilliant for this project, but they don't remember who that was. And one of our studies last year showed that over 60% hiring managers would like to rehire somebody they've already worked with because they trust them and they know them, but they simply do not have the tools or access to tools that can make it happen today. So they have to go back out to the agency or their internal process to go back out to their PSL, which is where I think the businesses can have this cultural shift and say, we're going to bring in something, whether it's our technology or whether it's just, a capability to actually start looking at the data, start looking at the reports. Because as this continues to evolve, and today we might say, okay, millennials are entering the middle management, like myself, borderline millennial, borderline annoying, but eventually more of us will be in our late 30s and early 40s, and we would want to start, building a longer term flexible portfolio career, which I've done, and which majority of my colleagues within my sort of age range I see wanting to do in 5 to 10 years time. So I think
I can't wait to go 3 days a week. I'm telling Adam, I've already started dropping the hints, about going, I don't want to work 5 days a week. How can I do that? So I'm gripping onto millennial for dear life. So I was born in 82.
Borderline. So I'm not that borderline. Borderline. But that's the whole point. And also, studies suggest that you don't have to be working 5 days a week to be successful and to be happy. In fact, if you work lesser, you're happier because you've got then the time to achieve your personal goals. And I think more and more of us are realizing that we're more mindful. We go to yoga. We do all sorts of things that 10, 20 years ago would be a bit juju kind of, if you know what I mean. So I personally think that, in that businesses need to start adopting this cultural shift. They need to start becoming more flexible. And if they could adopt technology along the way, that really helps them solve a problem, not just today, but in 2020 and in 2025, they should really look into doing that.